Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Mathma. I am Rahul Naik. This is the lecture 6 on the course of Foundation of Mathematics, and in this lecture we will start with the new chapter, that is sets. So in this session we will be discussing the notion of sets, basic terminologies in set. Now to introduce set was first introduced by the mathematician George Cantor, and later they developed a set theory. George Cantor developed the set theory along with Richard Dedekind in maybe somewhere in 1870s. And so here we see some basic terminologies in set. So first let us formally define the term set. A set is a collection of well-defined objects known as elements or members. Now well-defined can be skipped if you don't want to get into the more logical mathematics. But whenever given a set and given any element, if the set is very well defined, then we will be able to tell whether the given element is in the set or is not in the set. So there are some notations to used to denote sets. Sets are usually denoted by uppercase letters and the lower letters to label the elements in the set. Let A be a set and X be an object. So if X is in A, we write it in this way, and we read it as X belongs to A or X is in A. If X is not in A, we write in this way again, and we read it as X do not belongs to A or X is not in A. So here are some examples. Before getting into the formal way of representation of set, let us just observe the examples of set. So set of all integers strictly between 1 and 10. See the way it is represented, enclosed by braces, curly braces, and the elements are mentioned 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that comma represent that 2 is different from one element, is different from another elements. Okay, if you skip that comma, then it would say suppose you skip that comma between 2 and 3, so then it would look like 23 as one element. So that is not correct. The set of all even integers between 1 and 2000, this is a very big set. So how do we write down? Again, it can be written in this way. Just look at this: 2, 4, 6, and then there are ellipses or the dots, 3 dots, or maybe more than that, but minimum 3 dots, just to show that the set is continuing in this similar fashion, and it's a ending set. It's end at 2000. Okay, between integers between 1 and 2000. So I think 2000 shouldn't be present over here, so the last element should be 1998. So sorry for this mistake. Set of natural number 1, 2, 3, you just put it in a set. Now again, this dots shows that the set is proceeding further in a similar fashion. The set of integers, a set of integers contains the natural number, the integers, as well as the negative integers. So we write it in this way, and in both the side it goes on, it is never ending. So dots implies that it moves in a similar way. Set of rational number, you know that any rational number is of the form m by n. So just look at the way it is written. We cannot categorize all the rational numbers, like say 1 by 2, 1 by 3. All these rational numbers cannot be listed. So what is the best way of writing the set? It's a set of the form m by n, such that m and n. This colon denotes such that, or it is also denoted by straight line. M comma n is in set and n is not equal to 0. Can we have a set containing set? Why not? So here is an example. See, the first element, set of mathematics books in a library. Second element, the set of English newspapers in India. So set itself is a set, so element over here is set. Representation of set. Now through the examples you might have observed that the sets are represented in two ways. Like you have seen examples of set of integers between 1 to 10, it is listed. Same way set of natural number, it is listed with each element separated by a comma and enclosed by braces. And for the rational number, we use the short form, we use the property of that elements in the set, and we mention it. So here is the two methods of representing a set. The first one is called as a roster or tabular form, and the second one is called as a set builder form. So first we will look roster or tabular form. As the name suggests, tabular form, you just keep on listing the elements. So in a roster form, all the elements of sets are listed. The elements are being separated by commas and are enclosed with the braces. These are the braces that we used, and not the normal braces. So these are curved braces. If the list is too long, one uses this ellipsis. Okay, so ellipses are this whatever inside the dots, 3 dots. Okay. Then okay, let's see some examples of set in a roster form. Set of integers strictly between 1 to 10 is an example of just listing the element is an example of roster form. Again, the same mistake is occurring here when I say set of all even integers between 1 and 2000. So this is again in the roster form, but here just remove this 2000 from the set. It is the last element is 1998. Set of natural number, this way of writing it's called as a roster form. Set of integers also, this way of listing the element is called as a roster form. Okay, but not all set can be represented in the roster or the tabular form. So we have something called as the set builder form. In set builder form, all the elements of the set must possess a single property to become the member of the set, of that set. Like you have set of rational number, it's a subset of R, right? So I'll denote the object as x in R, where x have a certain property. And what is that property? X is of the form m by n, where m and n are integer and n is not equal to 0. Other way of writing it, see, this is separated by a colon. We read it as such that, and that colon can be replaced by straight line. Okay, so just observe this. Then again, set of real numbers strictly between 1 and 2. So set of real numbers strictly between 1 and 2. These are not integers. These are not 1 or 2 number. These are infinitely many elements between 1 and 2. So these are the real number. We cannot put it in the roster form. So we use this. So basically, it's a set of all x in R, such that x is less than 2 because it is between 1 and 2, and x is strictly greater than 1. Okay, in fact you could have written this as 1 less than x less than 2. Same way, now here this set of S is a set of all the element of the form x y z, the product x y z, such that this x comma y comma z is coming from the English uppercase A, B till Z. Now, here you can actually list the element, but there are many elements. This is a huge set, so it is better to write down in this way. So this is a set of all 3 letter words in English uppercase alphabet. So all the combinations you could have listed, and you could have written in a set builder form, roster form, but the set builder form is the much more convenient and easier way to represent the set. Now we come to the notion of empty set. Now one can think set as a box, or you can think as a seg, wherein you wherein you put all your objects. Like you can consider you can consider box containing mangoes as a set. So that box itself as a set, and its object is a mango. Okay, so can we have an empty box in a given box? It's similar, we can have it, right? So first we'll define something called as an empty set. This is not an empty set. So the set with no element, the box without any element would call it as an empty box. In this case it's called as an empty set or null set, and otherwise it is called as non-empty set. So if it has at least one element, then it is called as non-empty set. So notation that we use, okay, example, okay, the notation that we use is this phi, or the notation of set but nothing inside it, empty. Set of real number whose square is negative. So can we find a real number whose square is negative? Not possible. The set of natural number which are both odd and even. No such natural number exists, and therefore the set is empty. Set of all x in R such that x square plus 1 is equal to 0. No x satisfies this equation, and hence the set is empty. Okay, now here important remark. Most of you consider this as an empty set. A set, and inside you are using that notation of empty set. That's not actually set. It's like in an empty box we have a box which is still which is again empty. So but the given box cannot be an empty. Okay, so what happens, this is not an empty set, it's a set of a set. So this is not same as this notation. Okay, so please take a remark of this. Most of the time we use this notation for our convenience. Okay, subsets. In mathematics, given a space, we always can find a subspace, and how it is defined, just look at this definition. Suppose A and B are two sets. We say that A is a subset of B if every element of A is also an element of B. Now you can visualize this. You have two sets A and B. What does it say? A is a subset of B means what? B is slightly, it can be slightly smaller than the given set A, but it lies inside a given set B, but it lies inside B. So A lies inside B. A is contained in B. We call it as, we read it as in this way also. And so this is the notation that we use. A is a subset of B. Now most of the books also use simply that reverse C, but that this text used it as for a proper subset. So in other words, A is a subset of B using quantifier for all x in X, X is in B, right? So we can say whenever A is a subset of B, we can say that B is a superset of A, and we denote it in this way, B, just reverse of that notation, A. A question to think, if A and B are two set, when do we say that A is not a subset of B? As you all familiar with negating the statement, you just have to negate this statement. I would leave this as an exercise. Equality of two set, again we are considering we are looking for the different set, so we need to know this notion of equality in set. So when do we say that two sets are equal? This is how it is defined. The two sets A and B are said to be equal if they have the same elements. So basically what is happening over here in terms of subset, A is equal to B if and only if for every x in A, x is in B, and for every x in B, x is in A. That is, every element of x is element of B, and every element of B is element of A. So that is nothing but A is a subset of B as well as B is a subset of A. So whenever we want to prove, most of the time A is equal to B, we prove that A is a subset of B as well as B is a subset of A. Okay, both A is equal to B if and only if A is a subset of B and B is a subset of A is true. Then we define something called as a proper. In the previous term, while defining a subset, I said that there is a probability that when we define A as a subset of B, we visualize A as a smaller set than B. Right? When we say that A is a subset of B, we visualize A as a smaller subset of B, smaller set than B, and it is contained in B. But even if A and B are equal, we can say it satisfies the definition of A is a subset of B. We can say that A is still a subset of B. Now proper subset is a term that we use when A is strictly lies inside B. That means A is not equal to B in that case, but A is a subset of B. So using quantifier or using mathematically, what is happening is that A is a proper subset of B. This is the notation we use, as I said. simply a C, or this is the notation most of the book use as a standard notation for proper subset to avoid the confusion. A is a subset, you just strike off that line, not the whole thing. If you strike off the whole thing, then it's same as saying A is not a subset of B. So definition says that A is a proper subset of B if and only if for every x in A, x is a B. That is, x is A is a subset of B, but there is at least one element in B which is not in A. So there exists x in B such that x is not in A. Examples: express Z as a proper subset of Q. So first of all, you will prove that Z is a subset of Q. That means every element of Z, you have to show that it's an element of Q, and that is very simple. You just take any arbitrary element from Z and prove that it is of the form m by n. So here we have, so since Q is a set of all rational number, set of all real number with the property that the element in it is of the form m by n, where m and n are integer and n is not equal to 0. So let K be an element in set, and I'll show that K is again a rational number because K can be written as K by 1. So it is again of the form m by n. Okay, where m is equal to K and your n is equal to 1, which is not equal to 0. And this proves that Z is a subset of Q because Q also belongs to Q. Now you need to show that Z is a proper subset of Q. That means you should be able to produce, see, when I say a produce, or whenever there is a term there exists, you should be able to produce an element in Q which is not in Z. And there are in fact so many elements in Q which is not in Z. You just take one element, half, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, any element. Okay, so can you find one element in Q which is not in Z? Yes, x equal to 1 by 2. X is in Q but x is not in Z. Okay. Okay, now here is a question which you have been saying vacuously true, right? Can we say that the empty set is a subset of any set? It seems to be vacuously true, or it seems to be obviously true, but have you ever come across the proof of this? So now, since we know the quantifiers, we know the statements, we know the properties of statement, we can look at the proof also. Now, so we start with any set A, and we want to show that the empty set is a subset of A. So basically, in terms of statement, when do we say that empty set is a subset of A? I would call it as S. So that same as saying for all x in X, X is in A. So I want to show basically that this is true. Now, given a statement, it will be either true or false. But if the statement is true, its negation have to be false, and if the negation is true, then the statement have to be false. So to prove that this is true, I will show that its negation is false. Negation will never hold. What is its negation? Not of S. There exists X in empty set such that X is not in A. First of all, can you find an element in an empty set? Can you find an element in an empty set no matter what is the property? So you will not be able to find an element in empty set. So therefore this statement is always false, as empty set has no element, and that's why its negation have to be true. Negation of not S is nothing but S, that is the above statement has to be true. And so therefore we can now make a note that this empty set is always a subset of any given set. Here is a short exercise for you. Show that N is a proper subset of Z, Z is a proper subset of Q, Q is a proper subset of R. Second one, express the empty set as a subset of Q in two different ways. This is your choice. Express the empty set as a subset of R in two different ways. Okay, so just complete this exercise. Very simple. Now, most of the time we denote a set, in a set builder form, because that's a easier way. Now, but we fail to identify what kind of element does that set have. how do we observe what are the explicit elements of the given set? So let us see example over here. Identify the set. So you need to identify what exactly the element of A is. So identify the set, it's containing x, a real number, with the property such that x plus 1 by x is greater than or equal to 2. So I'll explore the whole real line. First I'll show that when if x is negative, it is not a part of A. So I'll see at x equal to 0, definitely it cannot be an element of A, because why? 1 by x is not defined. So only case, again you have to see for when x is positive, what x will belongs to this set A. Okay, so that you have to see from the property, what property is given. So let us look at this. So first question, we keep on asking question, 0 is 0 part of A? Not, no, since 1 by x won't make sense. What about x negative? Definitely this also not, because if x is negative, 1 by x is also negative, then their sum is negative. But we have a set having their sum greater than or equal to 2, so therefore this is not true. Then if x is positive, then does x plus 1 by x, there is a chance, because x plus 1 by x is greater than or equal to 0. But what positive real number will actually belongs to this set A? So what we will do, we will start with the property x plus 1 by x is greater than or equal to 2 if and only if x square plus 1 is greater than or equal to 2x, if and only if x square minus 2x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0, that is x minus 1 the whole square is greater than or equal to 0, and this is always true. This is always true. So that means all x greater than 0 is a part of this set A, and so we can conclude that x, whenever x is greater than 0, x belongs to A, or whenever x belongs to A, x is greater than 0, and therefore the set A is nothing but set of all x belongs to R such that x is greater than 0. And this is how we identify the given set. We just need to explore, we just need to see all the possible cases for the real number, whether it belongs to the given set. Okay, so with this I end up the session on basic terminologies of set. In the next session we will see some more advanced properties of set. Till then, goodbye. We will meet in the next lecture. Thank you.